Breakthrough is our headline initiative for new talent, where we identify people who are the creative leads for the film, games and television industries of the future. He is somebody who has been nominated for BAFTAs in the past and has won BAFTAs in the past, and he's just a great advocate for that principle of working between different cultures. Somebody who is very authentically Indian and kind of very much rooted in India, but also somebody who's, been just on the strength of his talent, he's been able to translate that success outside of India as well. We did a really great initial trip to India when people were still allowed to travel, if you remember those days, where we met lots of people, and that really helped us to understand the diversity and richness of talent that's present in India. So it helped us to target where we were looking and how to access people.
Today, we've been joined by Tim Hunter, Director of Learning and New Talent at BAFTA, to talk about a very interesting initiative called Breakthrough India, which aims at encouraging budding artists from the country in various fields like television, film, gaming, that too for a year. So thank you, Tim, for joining us today.
Thanks very much for having me.
Breakthrough has been present in the UK and US for quite some time now. We wanted to understand what exactly were the thoughts and reasons behind the decision, to bring it to India, and what sort of changes do you wish to see here?
Breakthrough is our headline initiative for new talent, where we identify people who are the creative leads for the film, games and television industries of the future. And its initiative, it's actually new in the US as well. It's only launched in the US this year as well, or last year, sorry. It's a program where we identify people who have talent and we help them to achieve their potential. And the reason why we have decided to expand globally is because we just increasingly, the industry is becoming one that collaborates globally and learns from each other. And we really wanted to foster those kind of relationships that are going to turn into the creative relationships of the future. So the more that people in the UK can learn from the people in India, and the more that people can learn from people in India can learn from the UK, the more likely we are to have the best quality film, television and games. So
Yes.
That's really the motivation.
And why did BAFTA Breakthrough India announce a 2-week deadline extension?
Because of the amount of interest that we had in the program. So we have a system which can see how many people have logged in and sort of started an application, and then how many people have completed it. And we could see that there were lots of people who'd started their application and were still working through it. So we wanted to expand it. We're still learning about, the size of India and the different kind of industries that exist within India. So we just wanted to give people a bit of extra space to complete the applications.
Right. We also wanted to understand what process did BAFTA adhere to through this initiative to spot right talent in India. How did it go about hunting talents in India?
We rely very much on cultural and industry partners in India. So everyone applies directly themselves, but we have a network of cultural and industry partners who help to recommend people. And so that's how we really have expanded the network. We did a really great initial trip to India when people were still allowed to travel, if you remember those days, where we met lots of people, and that really helped us to understand the diversity and richness of talent that's present in India. So it helped us to target where we were looking and how to access people.
Right. Now, what are those areas that BAFTA Breakthrough would be focusing on, and what are the reasons behind it?
I think that, so we cover film, games and television, and in the first year in India, we have identified particular areas that we're most interested in from India. And there are different reasons. There's the strength of particular areas of the industry within India. But also, I think one of the things that we learned from that initial trip that I mentioned was how much people, the sort of craft departments, hair and makeup, cinematography, all of those departments, how much they travel around India and how much they operate within the different industries that are within India. And I think that's something that I personally hadn't really realized. So for me, that kind of flexibility of working, I think is really important and something that's will be really valuable for people in the UK to learn from their Indian colleagues, particularly now when everybody's having to be very adaptive and they're having to learn different ways of working. To have connection with people who are just used to that way of working in different languages, working in different cultures, working with different kind of ways of working. I just think that's a really interesting aspect of the way the Indian industry works.
Now, we wanted to understand how will this initiative help the artists in the long run? What plans are underway to ensure that these artists make the most of the opportunities that come their way?
So the shortlisted artists get a year's worth of what we call industry support. So what we often say is that BAFTA is the mentor. So it's us who kind of can help to answer your questions, can help to connect you with people, but it's very much driven by that person and where they're at in their career. So they might be facing particular barriers. They might just be interested in finding out how casting works, or how locations work, or how game design works in the UK. And we as BAFTA, as their mentor, we can connect them with all of those people in the UK and beyond.
The fact that Breakthrough brings television, films and games on one platform is indeed appreciative. Now, we wanted to understand what does this mean for India in particular?
For us, for BAFTA, what we believe in is the power of storytelling, and we believe that film and games and television are the predominant ways that people tell stories. Storytelling is really the way that we work out the big questions in life as members of society. And so I think that there's much to learn between those different sectors. In some, and they'll always have different status. So for some people, film is the pinnacle and it's the ultimate kind of storytelling. But particularly for younger people, games is the way that they represent themselves and the way that they tell their stories. And it might be that television or film is the one that kind of will benefit from that association. So for us, it's very much about storytelling, and it's about kind of getting people to see film, games and television as ways to tell their stories and to really explore life's big questions.
Now that the applications have closed, what's next for Breakthrough India?
So the next stage is to pull together our jury, which will happen in March, and we invite people from across the Indian industry and the UK as well who can comment on the kind of applications that we've got. So that's why we get the applications in, we see where they've come from, and then we form a jury around those, and then the winners will be selected and announced in April.
AR Rahman was announced as the ambassador for the initiative. We wanted to understand what was the entire association with Rahman like, and what was the experience?
So we reached out to him because he is somebody who has been nominated for BAFTAs in the past and has won BAFTAs in the past, and he's just a great advocate for that principle of working between different cultures. Somebody who is very authentically Indian and kind of very much rooted in India, but also somebody who's, been just on the strength of his talent, he's been able to translate that success outside of India as well. So he was, a perfect representative of what we wanted to kind of talk about with Breakthrough. And, we reached out to him and he was very encouraging and very happy to help support the programme. And then he will become part of the jury that selects the honorees.
There's so many artists who've applied. What message would you like to send out to all those artists in India who are pinning their hopes on being selected through the initiative?
Well, first of all, very thankful and grateful for the time. I know how difficult and application processes are, and then you go through the process and you pour your heart into it, and only a small number of people will be selected, and that's always sad and disappointing. But we're very grateful for people for putting themselves forward, and we recognise how much kind of sort of bravery really it takes to even do that. We do maintain engagement with people who have applied, and there are kind of throughout the programme there are opportunities for anyone who's applied and beyond to access masterclasses and other things that will come out of the programme. But the essential principle of it is that it's about fostering relationships between these industries, which are for the benefit of the wider industry. So, even if you don't get selected, the whole purpose of the program is for the wider benefit.
Thank you, Tim, for speaking to us about BAFTA Breakthrough India initiative and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.